Out Out by Robert Frost. Make sure to pause this video, write down as many annotations as you can from memory, then look over your own notes and add those too, and then we can begin. Let's begin with the title, Out Out, which is a Shakespearean reference to Macbeth's infamous soliloquy. These are some of the final lines by Macbeth, who is the anti-hero of the play. And it notes his downfall the moment that he realizes it's all over for him. Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage and is heard no more. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. Shakespeare wrote this teaching the idea that Macbeth felt a sense of existentialism, questioning existence itself, and nihilism, the idea that nothing truly matters. It's a tragic soliloquy where we see a character that was once fulfilled and had life and was a hero, now is reduced to an existential nihilistic mess. Moving on to the structure, we can see that this is one single unbroken stanza, all written with roughly even lines. Thus we can say it resembles quite a lot like a soliloquy, which is the intention of Robert Frost to portray this. In describing the buzzsaw, Frost uses a range of alliteration and zoomorphism with snarled and rattled to really bring out the horror that is this saw. You'll notice that the first two lines, which describe this horrific scene of this animalistic buzzsaw, it's been juxtaposed by this serenity of nature in the next couple of lines. And once again moving back into this horrific imagery of the buzzsaw again. Frost here, by alternating this juxtaposition, or this difference of danger to calm back to danger again, brilliantly builds tension in the poem. So we have a buzzsaw and a beautiful scenery of Vermont, and a boy working at the saw, and he's about to be called for supper when a terrible accident happens to him. Again, the saw is described with zoomorphic actions, animalistic actions, to make it seem like it's a predator, as it almost leaps out at him at the word supper, and of course it cuts the boy's hand off. Upon first reading, it can be quite hard to tell what's actually happened here. And again, I think it's down to the clever use of punctuation, how the sentences are broken up even at the end where it says, but the hand. So this punctuation adds to the chaos and confusion of the scene. And really, as a reader, we feel just like that child. We don't know what's happened yet to his hand. Next, we see that the boy lets out an outcry of a rueful laugh. He's in a state of shock, and he swings towards them holding up his severed hand. A really vividly grotesque image, and it's designed to disturb the reader as we read it. There is no blood mentioned directly here, and yet we can tell from these euphemisms such as the life from spilling, which sense that perhaps he's bleeding to death. Of course he is bleeding to death from this. Also the child, he is a child at heart. He knows what's happened to him now. He's almost an adult, but he's really a child at heart. Even saying heart here is a cruel implication of the blood that's pumping out of him at this very moment, until he saw all that was spoiled. The next few lines are heavily punctuated with many full stops and dashes to show the quickening of multiple scenes occurring. And before he knows this, that he realizes his hand is cut off, he's pleading with his family. A doctor is here. He's put under the dark of ether, which is a drug to put him unconscious. Someone takes his pulse. He's dying. This heavy punctuation emphasizes the frantic pace of the events unfolding, particularly the punctuation on little, less, nothing. This dramatizes the final heartbeats of the dying child. Suddenly it ends abruptly and unemotional, which is quite shocking to the reader in many ways. The family had nothing to build upon there. They had nothing more to do, and they go back to their ordinary lives because this was the will of God, or this is what had to happen, or there was nothing more that they could fix or do. You see, this is quite a callous tone, filled with hatred from Frost, and he's criticizing the family on their lack of emotion, their stoic approach. Frost blames these small-minded individuals for their attitudes And they are the reason why this child had this fatal accident. If you look back, there are actually hints of that throughout the story. Big boy doing a man's work. I wish they might have said that they could have to go inside so they could have saved him from his work. Even when describing the mountains, he says, those who would bother to lift their eyes to look at the beauty of the mountains will see 5 mountain ranges. He's critical of them at every point, and he mentions Vermont by name as a region, because this is a real life story. This was a story that he had read in the newspaper, was outraged by, and wrote this poem as a message of how pointless this death was. Let's just take a look back quickly for the last point on the reference to Macbeth's soliloquy, out, out, and make some links to that quickly. Life is a tale told by an idiot, filled with sound and fury, like the saw. We are all but actors in life, with our hour upon the stage. He had but half an hour, signifying the fact that he is a child, dying before he should. Once again the sound and fury of the rueful laugh and holding up his hand, and is heard no more, signifying nothing. The message Frost is sending us is the outrage of this pointless death of the child that could have easily been avoided, an entirely unnecessary pain. Just like the downfall of Macbeth, which brought about the entire chaos and death and murder and war throughout the entire kingdom, all was restored to normal afterwards as if nothing had happened. And yet there was great pain in between that process that so easily could have been avoided.